the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. You can find Civic Center TV on Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, or you'll also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and in Southfield on City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us on Channel 10 in Waterford on the Media Network of Waterford and on Channel 10 in Orion Township and Lake Orion on Orion Neighborhood Television. You can also find us on the radio in Birmingham, Bloomfield, Bloomfield Hills, Troy, and the surrounding areas on 88.1, the BIF, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District. Find us online on our Facebook pages, facebook.com/Civic Center TV 15 and facebook.com/Lakes FM, as well as on civiccentertv.com. Click on our Watch Live link. It's at the top of the page if you're viewing us on your computer web browser or on your tablet, and if you're on your mobile phone and some tablets, especially in portrait mode, you will be in the left margin of the screen. You click a drop-down menu, and second from the bottom is Watch Live. You can also watch us live from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, Monday through Friday, on most weeks on My Michigan TV or My. Go to mymytv.com to learn more information, to watch us live, and to find other original and imported programming all about the state of Michigan from all across the state of Michigan on Michigan's free streaming network, My Michigan TV, where you can also find out where you can download their free smart TV and smart phone apps as well. You can learn more information and get links to each and every one of our partnering stations' websites by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll also find all of our full episodes and each individual interview on demand. Again, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Right next door to that is our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. At the top of that page, we have links that will direct you to very important information and up-to-date information on the COVID-19 pandemic at the local level from the Oakland County Health Division, at the state level from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and at the federal level as well from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, where you can learn more information about the spread of COVID-19, about the Omicron variant, about the Delta variant, about precautionary measures that you can be taking and you should be taking, and what situations you should be taking those precautions in, as well as information on getting vaccinated, on booster shots as well, and anything else you need to know about protecting yourself, your family, and your community from COVID-19. In addition, on our coronavirus page, we scour journalistic outlets from all across the state of Michigan daily before our live shows to bring you the top stories affecting the state of Michigan each and every day. And today's top story, it's a nationwide story, but certainly will affect businesses and health systems here in the state of Michigan as well. From our friends over at Bridge, Michigan, the U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday blocked the Biden administration's federal vaccine or get tested mandate for large employers, that being over 100 employees, saying that it was an overreach to target workplaces where COVID-19 is not, quote-unquote, an occupational hazard. If upheld, the mandate would have impacted an estimated 2 million Michigan workers and 84 million people across the country. Some Michigan business leaders expressed their relief after the decision. Quote, "We strongly support the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to block the federal vaccine mandate or test mandate," said Wendy Block, Vice President of Government Affairs for the Michigan Chamber and spokesperson for the Listen to MI Business Coalition, which had previously urged the Biden administration to reverse the mandate before it headed to the courts. Quote, "The court fully acknowledged the sweeping and disruptive nature of OSHA's vaccine mandate and the numerous complexities associated with its implementation," Block said, continuing, "We will continue to encourage vaccines and the necessity of maintaining thoughtful safety protocols in the workplace," and closed quote. In a separate ruling, the Supreme Court narrowly backed a Biden vaccinate or test rule for health workers at medical facilities that accept Medicare or Medicaid payments. The large employers mandate announced in September by the president drew challenges from across the country as business groups and some workers resisted the order, which was to take effect this past Monday, with enforcement to begin in February. Biden and health officials said that the mandate was necessary to stem the spread of COVID-19. Over recent weeks, both the state and the nation are recording record levels of Omicron variant-fueled virus, noting that the unvaccinated people are most at risk for both hospitalization, and death. Employers of 100 or more people were told to mandate COVID vaccines or have the workers undergo weekly medical testing at their own expense, according to rules on the mandate released by the Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration, otherwise known as OSHA. Fines ranging from $13,653 to $136,532 were set for violations if that mandate were to have gone into effect. Challenges filed from across the country said rules were an overreach for the department that regulates workplace safety and that the mandate represented executive overreach without the proper approval needed from Congress. In a 6-3 split decision on the employer mandate, the nation's highest court agreed. The court's 3 liberal justices dissented. Of course, the U.S. Supreme Court justices all vow to be nonpartisan in their decisions, but that doesn't often happen. OSHA is empowered to, quote, set workplace safety standards, not broad public health measures, and close quote, the Supreme Court majority said in its ruling. Continuing on, quote, although COVID-19 is a risk that occurs in many workplaces, it is not an occupational hazard in most, and close quote, according to the opinion. The opinion continued on by saying, quote, COVID-19 can and does spread at home, in schools, during sporting events, and everywhere else that people gather. That means risk is no different from day-to-day dangers that all face from crime, air pollution, or any number of communicable diseases. Permitting OSHA to regulate the hazards of daily life simply because most Americans have jobs and face those same risks while on the clock would significantly expand OSHA's regulatory authority without clear congressional authorization, end close quote. Among the reasons it added were that all types of jobs were treated the same under OSHA mandate, including those that face less risk from the virus. Quote, the regulation operates as a blunt instrument. It draws no distinctions based on industry or risk of exposure, and closed quote. Some Michigan business leaders applauded the move. Many, already in the midst of labor shortages, had feared the mandate would cause some of their workers who resisted becoming vaccinated against COVID to quit altogether. Brian Calley, the president and now the CEO of the Small Business Association of Michigan, said he welcomed the decision. Quote, this is going to be a big help in terms of creating certainty and avoiding the types of workforce challenges we were concerned about, he said in a Thursday Facebook Live event. Governor Whitmer, a Democrat, had recently called the business mandate, quote, a problem, and closed quote, for Michigan businesses, while fellow Democrat Attorney General Dana Nessel had backed the mandate. In the separate 5-4 ruling that allowed vaccine mandate at hospitals and other healthcare facilities accepting federal Medicare and Medicaid payments, the court said the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services was within its authority to set requirements since, quote, vaccination requirements are a common feature of the provision of health care in America, end closed quote. The court also wrote, quote, healthcare facilities that wish to participate in Medicare and Medicaid have always been obligated to satisfy a host of conditions that address the safe and effective provision of healthcare, end closed quote. The rule applies to staff, contractors, and volunteers in hospital systems. And it already has taken effect. It took effect on December 6th. That upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. Read that full article as well as supporting materials from Bridge, Michigan by clicking on the headline or the thumbnail of that article listed at the top of our page under our headlines at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. Here in the state of Michigan, good news for our infrastructure as Michigan is set to receive $563 million in federal aid for bridge repairs and replacements. It's expected to receive a total of $563.1 million over 5 years for bridge repairs and replacements under the bipartisan infrastructure package, the White House said. The funding comes from a bipartisan infrastructure bill that Congress passed late in 2021, with the bridge program now being launched by the U.S. Department of Transportation, or U.S. DOT. The White House said the program overseen by the Federal Highway Administration will be the largest dedicated bridge investment since the construction of the interstate highway system. It will send $26.5 billion to states over 5 years of the law, including $5.3 billion for the current fiscal year, or $112.6 million for Michigan this year alone. Senator Debbie Stabenow, a Democrat from Lansing, applauded the funding, calling it a quote-unquote game changer and saying it would, quote, transform how Michigan Michiganders get around the state and strengthen the safety of our bridges for future generations, end closed quote. Senator Gary Peters, also a Democrat, instead from Bloomfield Township, noted the United States ranks 13th in the world in infrastructure quality, quote, which is what makes this federal investment essential, end closed quote. Peters continued on later saying, quote, the bipartisan infrastructure law will bolster our economy by rebuilding roads and bridges that are in desperate need of repair and creating good-paying jobs along the way, in a statement. Congress cleared the bipartisan infrastructure package in November. Under the bill, Michigan was estimated to receive at least $8 billion in federal funding over 5 years for highway and bridge projects, including $7.3 billion from federal highway programs, according to estimates by the White House based on transportation funding formulas. The state may also compete for additional funding from the package's $12.5 billion program for economically significant bridges and roughly $16 billion intended for major projects with economic benefits for communities. Michigan is expected to receive an additional $1 billion over 5 years to improve public transit options under the measure as well. You can read that full article from the Detroit News on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as our final article today from our friends at the Detroit News. The GOP attempt to award Michigan electoral votes to Donald Trump has been referred to the federal government, according to Attorney General Dana Nessel, who said in a televised interview on Thursday her office has referred the submission of a false slate of presidential electors from Michigan's Republicans for the 2020 election to federal prosecutors. Nessel made the comments Thursday evening during an interview with MSNBC's Rachel Maddow as Michigan's presidential electors convened on December 14th of 2020 to cast their votes for the eventual winner, Joe Biden. A group of Republicans signed on to their own certificate that attempted to award the state's 16 electoral votes to Donald Trump. The document, shared with the U.S. House Committee investigating the deadly January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol last year, was obtained by Politico and as linked in this article from the Detroit Free Press. Law enforcement denied access to the group of Republicans who tried to deliver their own electoral votes to the Capitol in Lansing that day, incorrectly arguing that they were the state's presidential electors. Biden won Michigan by more than 154,000 votes. Election audits have affirmed Joe Biden's victory in the state, and courts rejected allegations of widespread fraud as based on conspiracy and conjecture. Attorney General Nessel told Rachel Maddow that her office has been evaluating charges for almost a year, but decided Thursday to instead refer them to the U.S. Attorney General's office for the U.S. Attorney's office for the Western District of Michigan, saying, quote, "We think this is a matter that is best investigated and potentially prosecuted by the feds," end closed quote. The signatories of the failed attempt to award Michigan's electoral votes to Trump include Michigan GOP co-chair Michonne Maddock, National Republican Committeewoman Kathy Burden, and Michigan GOP grassroots Vice Chairman Marion Sheridan, among other pro-Trump activists in the party. The decision does not preclude possible charges against the Republicans who falsely claim that they cast Michigan's electoral votes for Trump, Nessel said, and her office might still bring charges, she added, saying, quote, "Under state law, I think clearly you have forgery of a public record, which is a 14-year offense, and election law forgery, which is a 5-year offense," Nessel said, continuing on, quote, "But obviously, this is a part of a much bigger conspiracy, and our hope is that the federal authorities and the Department of Justice and the U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland will take this into consideration with all the other information they've received and make an evaluation as to what charges these individuals might make," she said, in closed quote. Federal charges could include forgery of a public record for purpose of defrauding the United States or conspiracy to commit an offense to defraud the United States, Attorney General Nessel told Rachel Maddow on the show on her show on Thursday night. That's our headlines. You can read the full articles as well as go to the websites of each of these publications that are posting these articles by visiting our website at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus. While you're viewing these articles in full and all the supporting materials from these great journalistic outlets in Detroit and Lansing and Grand Rapids, up north in the UP, and so on throughout the state of Michigan, we highly encourage you as well to consider subscribing to these outlets as well to support support local journalism and gain access to even more additional content from these publications to keep yourself as informed as possible as what is going on in our community, in your community, and our community here in the state of Michigan as well. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll kick our show off at 10:20 with Danielle Whitaker, the owner of Salon to Go Medical Spa in West Bloomfield. At 10:40, sculptor and creator of the art project Man in the City, John Sauve, will join us on the show. At 11 o'clock, Tracy Chirikas, as well as Angela Spino-Bagoda from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities, will join us on the show. And then at 11:20, Mark Ridley, owner of Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, will talk about upcoming shows as well as the life and the legacy of the late Bob Saget. And we'll cap off the show at 11:40 and cap off our shows for the week at 11:40 with the COO of Thaw, the Heat and Warmth Fund, a Share Detroit charity. That is all coming up next. You are watching and listening to the Megacast.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question?
Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe here in our studios in West Bloomfield, although we broadcast all across Oakland County and around the state of Michigan on a number of different community television and radio outlets, as well as online on both civiccentertv.com and My Michigan TV. You can learn more information about everywhere that we broadcast and find us on demand at civiccentertv.com/megacast. Joining me now is Danielle Whitaker, the owner of Salon To Go Medical Spa in West Bloomfield. Danielle, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm great. Thanks.
Good to have you on. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to opening Salon To Go Medical Spa here in West Bloomfield?
So I actually started out, I had a hair salon, also in West Bloomfield. Neurotoxins such as like Botox and fillers weren't really popular in Michigan yet. They were kind of big in California. They were leading in the industry. So, like I said, we're a little bit behind. So as it started to get more and more popular, I actually started getting these procedures done myself. So I started out, getting some Botox to smooth out my wrinkles. Then, I wanted to do some filler to, get contour my cheeks. And, I really started getting, very attached to it. And I loved the way my results were. So I was looking for a way to tie it into my spa. So that's kind of how I got started. We slowly, as it became more popular in Michigan, converted to a medical spa.
And so what are some of the services that you provide to your clients at your business?
So I'm sure everybody's heard of Botox. That's great for smoothing out fine lines and wrinkles, but it also has some health benefits to it, such as treating TMJ. So, or migraines, there is Botox. You can get that for migraines for people that suffer with those. We do dermal fillers. So if people are looking to enhance anything, their facial anatomy, such as cheeks, lips, contouring the face and jawline. We do IV therapy, which is great for immune boosting. Obviously, during these times, we all want to keep our immunity up. Also, hydrofacials for, keeping up with your skincare. It's very important to stay hydrated in the winter so you're not drying out your skin. So, yeah.
We're joined by Danielle Whitaker, the owner of Salon To Go Medical Spa, located in West Bloomfield, joining us today on the Megacast. And so, Danielle, you recently had gifted what was called the Ultimate Makeover to a person locally. Can you tell us about the person who was gifted the Ultimate Makeover and what exactly was the Ultimate Makeover?
So the girls and I decided that we were going to give somebody something for the holiday and, try to help them out a little. So we actually did something where we were accepting applications and we wanted to hear people's story. It's a really sad one. So Eileen was 68, and she was a retired school teacher, and people made fun of her. So, sorry guys, I was hoping we'd say this for last. So anyway, she is taking care of her grandson and putting him through college. So she's been struggling. So she picked up and she's actually teaching school for special needs. So we picked her for those reasons. We really wanted to help her. She took us some before pictures and she would say, younger students, they kind of have no filter. So she said that they would tell her that she looked 100. And she goes, but I don't feel 100. So it was, it was heartbreaking, but she came in and all the girls just loved her. And, we did it all. We did a full makeover. She was so happy.
We're joined by Danielle Whitaker, owner of Salon To Go Medical Spa in West Bloomfield. You can learn more information by visiting salon2gomedspa.com. That's salon, the number 2, gomedspa.com to learn more information. You can also follow them on social media on both Facebook and Instagram at salon, the number 2, go med spa, salon to go med spa. And so, Danielle, among the different sort of spa treatments that we hear a lot about over time are facials. What are some of the benefits of getting facials, particularly in the season that we're in winter, when a lot of people will experience dry skin?
Oh, absolutely. People don't really, they hear the word facial and they think more as like pampering themselves, which it is great, obviously, for some relaxation, but there's actually a lot of benefits that are great for this time of the year, even as keeping up on your skin, even for your skin in the future. So we have multiple facials. One of them that we have that's very popular is the hydrofacial. This is really great for extracting the dirt, the oil, the grease out of the skin. So a lot of people, you notice that you have blackheads or pimples. We actually extract all of that out of the face. So it's basically a detox. That's what the extractions are. And everybody's skin right now is really dry because, it's the cold winter months. And so on top of extracting and cleaning, we also rehydrate that skin.
And so in terms of other treatments that you provide, you mentioned Botox and other injectables as well. What are some of the benefits of those? Obviously, there are the visual benefits of those smoothing out the skin, but are there additional benefits as well to the skin or to overall appearance that make these certain injectable treatments attractive to clients or healthy for clients?
Yeah, so basically, people ask sometimes, am I too young for Botox? Or, people say, you don't need that yet. You're only, 25. But the thing is, Botox is actually a preventative also. So as we use our facial muscles, obviously, we smile, we frown. When we smile right here, this is what we call the crow's feet. Mm-hmm. So we actually, over time, will get wrinkles there. And, obviously raising our brows up and down, we'll get some mid-forehead to frontalis lines. So actually, the earlier you start, the easier it is to prevent these in the future because you're treating it. So, it's great because long-term, you will need less of this if you maintain it and use it as a preventative.
And so over the course of the pandemic, we've had a lot of people that have, of course, been working virtually. They've been working from home. They've had a lot of meetings. They've had a lot of other things they've had to do virtually over Zoom or over another virtual platform. And so it's very visual. It's very face visual as well. Have you seen that because of that being the case and the condition of how we've been living over the last roughly 2 years because of COVID-19, that there's been an increased demand for some of these services that you provide?
Absolutely. So as we know on Zoom, or Skype or any other video type where you're staring at yourself. So, basically you're kind of critiquing yourself like, oh, well, I'm looking older when I smile, or, oh, I need help with all these wrinkles, or, oh, this is uneven. So definitely we have seen that, especially when people think that they have aged. Normally, they need to do something with hydrating the skin. So that's when they start, calling and asking about our facials or our skincare products that we use or what they can use to help keep their skin hydrated and in good shape.
We're joined by Danielle Whitaker, the owner of Salon To Go Med Spa, located in West Bloomfield. Salon To Go Medical Spa's website, salon2gomedspa.com, if you want to learn more information. And so, what for you and your team, what sort of training does your team undergo before they're providing these procedures to your clients? Because I would imagine if people are going in and getting these services, they want to make sure that the people that they are getting these services from are highly qualified and experienced in what they're doing, especially if it's something so visual like to someone's face.
Absolutely, and it's very important for everybody out there to make sure you're going to a registered nurse, an MD, an NP, or a DO. These people have, they have the schooling behind them. They know their facial anatomy, Like Botox, it involves knowing the muscles in the face, which is very important. My employees here, I have RNs and I have an NP and I also have a doc. Everybody is not only been through their schooling, but you also have to have special training in each procedure. So you have to be neurotoxin certified, you have to be dermal filler certified. And on top of that, all of our manufacturers come in, and the girls, just to keep up and get the latest techniques, they actually come in and do one-on-one or team practice trainings with the girls. So we don't just stop because they know how to do Botox. We are always taking more and more and more classes to keep up on the new techniques and technology.
We're joined by Danielle Whitaker, the owner of Salon To Go Medical Spa located in West Bloomfield. Danielle, of course, we've talked a lot about the many benefits of the services that you provide at your business. Are there any newer services that have been popping up as of late or in recent months or even recent years that are becoming more popular or that you're getting more questions about that may be interesting for our audience to be considering or at least know about?
I'm actually glad you had asked that question, because there's something called PDO threads. It has been so popular the last year and a half. It is newer to the industry, but just the results are incredible. Is what this is. It's actually great for people, like I said, we talked about, people are looking at Zoom, they're seeing themselves and they're realizing, they're like, wow, I look like I've aged 5 years during the stress of this pandemic, the stress of work, the stress of kids' school, being through Zoom too and in and out, everybody's very stressed. So this actually is a procedure that it's basically getting a non-invasive facelift. So people are very scared to go under the knife, or to maybe have scars or anything like that. So this is, like I said, non-invasive, and it is a non-surgical facelift. It lasts 2 years, lifts the cheek, jawline, jowls. Very popular right now is the fox eye, which is an eyebrow lift. And all of this is extremely safe. And like I said, once again, it's non-invasive, so you won't have any scarring.
We're joined by Danielle Whitaker. She is the owner of Salon To Go Med Spa located in West Bloomfield. Just another minute or so with you, Danielle. Anything else that would be important for our audience to know about your business, or anything else interesting we haven't spoken about today that you'd like to talk about?
I think we covered everything. I just, one thing I could suggest to everybody for keeping up on their skin right now, even if you can't get out to a spa, there are a few things that you can do at home. So everybody just try to stay away from your makeup wipes. Use a great cleanser, something that is an antioxidant, great for anti-aging. Also, make sure at night you're using an intensive moisturizer. Right now, everybody needs to keep up and stay hydrated during these dry months.
Danielle, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate you giving us some insight on some of these treatments that are available to people, as well as telling us about your local business.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You can learn more information about their services and book an appointment if you would like to do so by visiting GoMedspa.com. Again, that is Salon To Go Med Spa with the number 2 in the middle there. Salon, the number 2, GoMedspa.com. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll be talking to John Sauve, who is a sculptor and the creator of the art project Man in the City. That is coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
We may come from different organizations,
But we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior. These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance. They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different. One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games? Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking.
Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Just a programming note. We had a little bit of a scheduling conflict going on, so we have flipped our next couple of groups of guests. John Sauve will now be at 11 o'clock on today's show, and in a few minutes, we'll be joined by Tracy Chirikas and Angela Spino-Bagoda from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. While we're on the topic of programming notes, just want to let you know that we will not be broadcasting live on Monday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, an observation of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, but we will return next week, Tuesday through Friday, with regular episodes here on the Megacast Network from 10 a.m. until 12 noon live, as well as throughout the afternoon for replays and live to tape on Orion Neighborhood Television. So we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll be joined by both Tracy Chirikas and Angela Spino-Bagoda from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. Joining us now from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities is Angela Spino-Bagoda, as well as Tracy Chirikas, once again joining us on the show. Thank you both for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate having you both on. So on your homepage for the coalition, the headline reads, "Did you know over 2,000 teens begin abusing prescription drugs every day?" Can you talk to us about the issue of prescription drug abuse and misuse and the different ways that may begin, particularly for these kids, the process of beginning to abuse these drugs and eventually maybe even becoming addicted to these drugs?
Well, if you don't mind, Angela, I'll take the lead on this. Sure. I think one of the interesting statistics on this is often our youth are prescribed due to a medical condition, and they are taking their medications as prescribed until it crosses over to this level of dependency on that medication. Why are we very honed in and concerned about this is there are so many pill pressings going on out in our communities. We need to be aware as a community that there are individuals illicitly pressing pills that look identical to those pills that we can get from the pharmacy. The problem is those pills are not manufactured in the pharmaceutical environment, but rather someone's kitchen, basement, garage, what have you. And so they're heavily adulterated. And that is truly what we are seeing in our communities right now is fentanyl adulterated prescription lookalike pills. Some of the things that we need to think about when it's concerning our youth is think about our own mindsets and behaviors. If I'm borrowing medication from a friend of mine, for example, because today I wound up with a migraine headache, I'm not asking my best friend what that chain of custody was with that medication. There's that unspoken trust. And with our youth, that is occurring as well. They have an unspoken trust and level of understanding where they believe their friends would never choose to harm them. And quite frankly, maybe their friend isn't even trying to harm them. So that is something that we really need to be aware of where our youth are concerned.
And so in terms of prevention, of course, we always hear about making sure that for adults in the home that they're properly storing these prescription drugs, that they're locking them away to get them out of reach of children that may either get to them out of curiosity if they're younger kids, or maybe seeking them out for misuse or abuse reasons if they're older, or vice versa. But what other preventative measures or intervention measures should be taken in the home if a parent is concerned that their kid may be either becoming dependent on these prescription drugs or may even be abusing these prescription drugs before it eventually gets to a point where they may be seeking pills from outside of those that are obtained through medical means?
Thank you. That's such an important question. I think one of the greatest things we can do as parents is, yes, our youth can read. Yes, they can follow instructions. However, with prescription medications, these are highly dangerous. We need to control how they are being administered. So when your loved one starts reaching out because their pain is breaking through sooner, rather than the time prescribed on that bottle, that is a first indication that a dependency may be starting to form in your loved one's scenario. So if that is the case, then you should be talking to your doctor rather quickly that, hey, my loved one's pain is breaking through sooner, yet you've prescribed it for every 3 hours. Now it's breaking through every 2 hours. And we know, because of tolerance and the way opiates build up in the body, that tolerance builds up just as quickly.
And so let's bring in Angela Spina-Bagoda. She is a certified prevention specialist and peer recovery mentor as well with the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. Now, I mentioned before Tracy's previous comment, intervention. On the intervention front, if a parent particularly is concerned that their kid may be becoming more dependent on these drugs, or that they may be increasing their tolerance abnormally to these drugs, maybe even misusing or abusing them, obviously having a familial intervention or having some support system there that's helping to prevent misuse or abuse from becoming chronic is critical, but it's also a very sensitive matter that you want to approach in a way that, of course, is welcoming and is friendly and is supportive, but also needs to be done in a manner that is deliberate as well. How do you suggest that parents or families of people that may be misusing or abusing drugs approach making those initial interventions to help their loved one either escape the burden of drug use and misuse, or to help them if they are addicted to these prescription drugs?
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because having an addiction is something that has so much stigma that's attached to it. So what I encourage people to do is, number one, seek out professional help. This isn't something that you want to approach alone, or something that you want to do without the help of medical professionals, especially if somebody has already developed a substance use disorder. And it's something that oftentimes people think is attached to some sort of a moral failing, but really what it is it's a complete hijacking of the thinking process. And, it affects the brain's reward system in a way that, completely hijacks that thinking process. So what somebody would normally do when they're not using, you might see as a symptom during substance use. And so some of the symptoms might appear as though they're negative behaviors. However, it doesn't mean that person is a bad person. So I highly encourage people to reach out for professional help. And I encourage them also to learn as much about a substance as they can. And I always say, like, non-judgmental help, right? For me, having that conversation, if a parent were to come up to me and say, listen, I want to help you. I'm not judging you. I'm here for you. We're not going to necessarily talk about the last time that you used. We're just going to figure out a way to get you some help, so yeah.
And what's great, too, is that an organization like yours, the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities, also provides support groups and information on providing that support in a way that is helpful and is sensitive to both the family member that's trying, or family members that are trying to help intervene in their loved one's substance use, misuse, or abuse, as well as the person that may be dealing with that misuse or abuse. And one of those programs is Shatter the Stigma and Family Support Meetings, which are held via Zoom every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. and Wednesday morning 10 a.m. as well as Thursdays at 7 p.m. Angela, we'll start with you. Can you talk about what goes on in these meetings and who they can be beneficial to as people are either themselves battling addiction or have a loved one that may be battling addiction?
Absolutely. So I will let Tracy take the family side of things on Thursday evenings, but the group on Tuesday mornings from 9:30 to 11 o'clock is Smart Recovery, and it is for the family side as well. But Smart Recovery is a science-based program to help people manage their recovery from any type of addictive behavior. So we are covering substance use, but we could be talking about anything like alcohol, nicotine, gambling, eating, self-harming, those types of behaviors as well. And Smart Recovery is based on a 4-point program. So it basically is helping people to decide if they have a problem. It builds and maintains motivation. It helps to cope with urges and temptations. And then the third point is managing thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And then finally, helping people to live a balanced life. And it's based off of cognitive behavioral tools. And those cognitive behavioral tools are based off of a workbook that are available to participants within this group. And one of the things that we found through the COVID crisis is that we're able to facilitate these groups online and make them more available to people who might not be able to drive to get to these groups. And so we're able to do that on Tuesday mornings at 9:30.
We're joined by Angela Spino-Bagoda as well as Tracy Chirikas from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities, and Tracy on the family front. Can you talk about how these meetings may be beneficial as families work together to address substance use and misuse issues?
Well, I think, thank you, number one. But number two, families can't help it because we are programmed from the birth of our children to basically become codependent on our children. We are there to supply their needs and help them fly in life. And the same is true when our loved one struggles with substance use disorder. We come alongside and we become just as sick as our loved one. And so Smart Recovery for family and friends is really a compilation between two programs. One is the Smart Recovery program and one is the CRAFT, which stands for Community Reinforcement and Family Training. So SMART is skill-based, whereas CRAFT is evidence-based. And really what it's teaching us as family members is how to support our loved one in a healthy way. That's number one, because we've become very unhealthy. We become just as sick as our loved ones. We will clean up their messes. We will quickly, create all of this chaos so that others aren't pointing the finger because of shame and stigma, especially on that family side. So we really have a lot of work to do on our family side, the family and friends side, to be really good support team members of our loved ones. It is a family disease. It is not just, that individual. We all have things to learn about ourselves and collectively as groups. We follow the same 4-point system that Angela just mentioned. Ours just may look a little differently. Our urge to control the situation, for example, because that is the biggest thing in a family and friends. We want to control the outcome, which really is manipulative behavior. So we have to unlearn some of these same traits that our loved ones struggle with. We meet every Thursday night from 7 to 8:30. And really, as Angela said, it's addictive behavior. It's not just limited to substances. And, I think that they can lead to substances. Sure. But I think one of the things we need to remember, and really now that we're kind of post-COVID, but we're moving into the Omicron environment, a lot of unhealthy coping mechanisms came about for all individuals in society. And I believe all individuals can benefit from just unlearning some of those unhealthy coping strategies that we navigated toward.
Please, Angela. Yeah.
I was going to say, sometimes it can be like that game whack-a-mole, you knock one thing down and another one pops up. But as far as I had the pleasure of taking the family and friends training too, and I thought it was pretty amazing because one of the things I've never really been a huge fan of, and Kraft kind of talks about this a little bit, is the idea of like tough love. If it's a medical condition, I don't see how loving people less or pushing them away is going to help, right? And so I love that this program doesn't talk about tough love, but it talks about love and limits. And I can see how supporting people, like I love you, but I have to set limits for me and for you. And that just really made a whole lot of sense to me.
And we're joined by Tracy Chirikas and Angela Spinal-Bagoda on the Megacast. They are both with the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities. And so we talked in December before the new year about how the holidays can impact addiction and can impact the ways that we interact with those that may be dealing with substance misuse or substance abuse. As we're in the winter months, this time of the year in our area, especially given the weather, given the conditions outside, can also have an impact on mental health and certainly as well on substance use and misuse. What are some of the ways that we see at this time of the year that people that may be battling addictions may struggle more so than or differently? Well, it's probably a better way to put it than in other times of the year where it's nicer outside or there's more activities to be done. And what can be done from the level of friends and family and coworkers and other people in their lives to help them weather this time of the year that can often be just as triggering as the few weeks of the holidays?
Right. Well, I think it's the weather. Number one, as you said, limited days where there are sunshine. We desperately need sunshine and to get outside and get that fresh air to help our serotonin levels and our dopamine levels. But some people do struggle with seasonal dissociative disorder, right? Where the lack sun. Maybe that's as simple as, getting some kind of lamps and indirect lighting. But plugging into these support groups are so helpful because it's peer-led and peers gathering together to help one another, lift one another, and guide them through these situations that we're all confronted with time to time.
So Tracy, Angela, just another couple of minutes with the both of you before we'll say goodbye today. At this time, is there anything else that we should be keeping in mind now that we're in the new year and as we're going through the winter in terms of how we can help people in our lives that may be dealing with substance use, substance misuse, addiction, or if we are dealing with those issues ourselves?
Yeah, I would second what Tracy said when it comes to seasonal depression. I think that is a very real thing. I know I suffer from it. So I would also say keep an eye out for isolation. I always say addiction at the core of it really feeds it with isolation, and recovery is really all about connection. So, if you see one of your family members or friends slipping away, make that extra phone call, make that extra text, show up at their house, be there for them. And it's better to ask a question and be able to help someone than not ask the question and find out later that that person was in distress. So sometimes they can be uncomfortable and difficult conversations, but we'd rather have those than not show up for the people that we love.
Tracy, anything else?
No, I completely agree with what Angela said, and we are just a phone call away.
Well, we appreciate both of you, appreciate your time and the information, as well as all the helpful advice for people that may be dealing with addiction or those that may be helping a loved one through addiction as well. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom, telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. I'm joined now by the artist behind the project Man in the City. It's sculptor John Sauve is with me on the Megacast. John, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Tyler. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, good to talk to you as well. So let's start by talking about your art background. When were you first introduced to art, and what ultimately inspired you to become a sculptor?
Well, actually, I was always interested, and you know how there's people that are inspirational to you. And I remember at a very young age, my dad taking me to the Detroit Institute of Arts, and it kind of stuck with me. And in college, I took art history and ended up right out of college working for the Michigan Commission on Art in Public Places, which was a newly developed division that was dedicated to a 1% program. So all new buildings in the state of Michigan had to spend 1% on art, whether it's interior or exterior. We dealt with primarily public art, so it was mostly large-scale sculpture, but there was a lot of two-dimensional work involved in it as well. And that was my whole introduction to the art world from a professional standpoint. And ever since that job, I tried to figure it out. And it's not like there's an easy roadmap. It's just dedication.
We're joined by John Sauve. He is a sculptor and the creator of the art project Man in the City. And so let's talk about Man in the City. What were the beginnings of this project, and how has it developed over time to grow into today's work?
Well, it all started with an opportunity at a fundraiser I attended in 2008. I was in New York, Lower Manhattan. It was a fundraiser for a group called Henrik Martin Institute. And they had some kids' work that was out on tables, and they notified me. I ended up talking to a guy around some of the artwork, and he notified me that the kids' art program was cut for that upcoming summer. And so we talked a little bit more, and I said, hey, if I could come up with a plan, would you be into it? And he said, absolutely. So right after that fundraiser, I had a couple conversations, and the Mark Echo Foundation said that they would like to support something like that. And so we had a plan. And I also was at the time working with the two guys who started the High Line in New York, which is an elevated railway line and the newest public park in the city of New York. I say newest, but it's been about 10 years that that park has been open, and it's completely changed the landscape in Hell's Kitchen and Chelsea. And this was the very first public art project, Man in the City, on the High Line.
And so, John, the Man in the City itself is it's an orange metallic sculpture that is on top of buildings throughout the city. Why the choice of the location being on top of a building in the city and not somewhere that's more visible to those that are walking about in the city from the ground level? Why choose the top of the buildings?
Tyler, didn't you see him on top of the building?
I've seen a few pictures of him on top of the building.
Oh, they stand out much better on the rooftop, trust me. And the idea is to position yourself within the city. When people are looking up, it gives them an opportunity to think differently. Just by catching it out of the corner of your eye, it makes you think about possibilities. It makes you think about your own place within the environment. It makes you think about the building itself and the history of the building. And you asked me about the locations. And when it came to installing these pieces in Detroit, it was more about my connection to those actual buildings and the architecture, whether it be because there's a nonprofit inside the building like the Scarab Club or Detroit Artist Market or the Detroit Historical Museum or the Dawson Great Lakes Museum, all these great iconic locations in which these sculptures are installed also bring attention to those buildings. And we've utilized that over the last 10 years of the project to highlight the cultural events within the city of Detroit. And so each one has a personal relationship with me because, number one, I installed it, but number two, I have a relationship with the people in that building. So it's my way to meet new people, but also to support people that I've had a long-term relationship with and think need to be identified in another way.
And so earlier, John, you mentioned that your Man in the City work has also expanded to youth organizations across the country as well. Can you tell us a little bit about the connections between this project and your work with underserved youth and communities, not only here locally here in Michigan, but also throughout the U.S.?
So the whole concept of this project was started around youth. It was at this fundraiser that I mentioned to you that from the very inception, we've always had a connection to youth programming. It's one thing to put public art up and just walk away. It's another to feel this sense of commitment to the community in which you're installing the art. And that's just me. That's just my personal way of engaging with the community. And so I've developed this Man in the City project for kids art programming. And in the city of Detroit, we've done it. I was the artist in residence at the Bowl Family YMCA for a number of years. I worked with YouthWorks Detroit, worked Big Brothers, Big Sisters. In fact, tomorrow, I've been working with the Living Learning Center in Northville, which works with high school and older kids that, once you're out of high school, the support from the school system stops. And where do those kids go? And Living Learning Center does a great job at picking up the pieces where these kids, when they leave, they have another option, another support group that that tries to work with these kids. And I told them about the project, and for the last year, I've been working with them. And tomorrow, we're having an open house at Living Learning Center in Northville, where people can come and see the project and also learn more about a great organization in Northville, within the Detroit metro area as well. So for me, if one more person finds out about Living Learning Center as a direct result of this project, it's a win. And then the other part of it is I get a chance to communicate with people and learn new things in the process as well.
And so, John, we're joined by John Sauve. He is a sculptor and creator of the art project Man in the City, joining us on the Megacast. John, you mentioned that part of what you love about your art is being able to have that interaction, and especially in your work with the youth as well, is to have that interaction with your community. And as the pandemic's gone on, we've had ebbs and flows of times when we were able to be more active and more communicative with our communities, and other times where we were needing to be shuttered away or be hands off. How has that impacted your approach to your art as well, not only for yourself as an artist and for that full sense of fulfillment that you get from producing your art, but also knowing that it takes on a different meaning, having that interactivity with your city when you're interacting with it visually versus with other people, or in addition to interacting with other people in the city as well?
Without putting too much thought into it, I would say the pandemic has only affected projects that I had scheduled, that were dedications of public artwork or group dynamic programs where there was a large group that was going to meet. Those things had to be obviously shut down. But when you shut that down, it doesn't mean I stop. I still have Zoom. I still have a phone. I still am able to make connections and make new opportunities. So my thing is, you just have to be able to bob and weave. And the good thing about what I do and how I approach my work is I'm always doing that. I'm always looking for new opportunities. And so when one door closes, another opens. And all throughout the pandemic, I was working the phone. I was, still creating, still doing other things, but I kept my communication lines open so that I knew when things did open up and shut down and open up and shut down again, I still, you just postpone or look for new things, and you got to be creative about it. So I would say it affected me in the sense of things that were scheduled, but not in the sense of things that were open to new opportunities. But I think everybody had to do the same thing. It's not just me.
We're joined by John Sauve. He is a sculptor and creator of the art project Man in the City, joining us on the Megacast. And so, John, you mentioned that you have your Man in the City Mini-Man debut on Saturday, January 15th. It's tomorrow in Northville. You told us a little bit about that event. Give us more details in case people want to be able to join in on the event if they still can. Where will it be in Northville? At what time of day?
So in Northville, it's on the corner of 8 Mile and Wabash. And if you go to livinglearningcenter.com in Northville, you'll be able to find it. It's at 4 o'clock, and it's in the art department. They have the garage has been converted of this mansion. It's the Don Massey Mansion is where the Living Learning Center is located. It's 12 acres. It's an amazing place. There is just so much to learn, see, and do at that location. But we're going to be just in the art department. That doesn't mean people can't tour the mansion, can't tour the farm, can't tour the petting zoo and all the other things that are available. They're really amazing people over there, that their heart's in it. And it's a really dynamic place that's a valuable part of the community. So if anyone's interested in all, it's at 4 o'clock tomorrow. Go to livinglearning.com, and I'm sure you can find it.
And so, John, what other projects are you working on in the future that people may be excited to see if they want to keep up with your work?
Well, this past year, I was part of a Perrysburg sculpture exhibit in Perrysburg, Ohio, and I was selected as the artist in residence for the University of Toledo. And so we started on Monday. I'm working with the Achieve Academy in Toledo. It's a school where part of the population is actually homeless. It's a high school where part of the population is homeless. And so it's kind of a transient thing. Kids might show up for a couple weeks or a couple days and not show up again for a while. And for me, these are kids that really need what the arts have to offer. So we came together at this event last summer, and we've developed this program, and we're working with the Toledo Museum of Art to exhibit the kids' artwork. Same type of project, Man in the City. There's one located on top of the Toledo Museum of Art. The kids are modeling after that piece with their own miniature sculptures, and I'll be working with them through March to do an install and a dedication in April at the Toledo Museum of Art. And the whole idea is these kids go from concept to finished design. I'm working with a great art instructor over at Jan over at the Allegiance Academy on this project, and the transformation that can occur with these kids is amazing, especially kids at risk. They need support, they need encouragement, and a project like this, no matter how small it is in the big scheme of things, it still can make a transformative thing. When kids work from concept to finished product, that means that they can do anything if they put their mind to it. And if it sticks with one kid in this project, that's worth it for me. If one of them walks away with, hey, I can do anything, it's kind of a lofty goal, but at the same time, I've seen it happen, and I'm willing to continue to do it because I get more out of it than anybody else.
Well, John, thank you very much for joining us, telling us more about Man in the City, as well as all the other work in cities throughout the U.S. as well as with our youth.
Tyler, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You as well. Have a good day. John Sauve, sculptor and creator of the art project Man in the City, has been with us on the Megacast. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll go from one form of art to another. We'll speak with Mark Ridley from Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle in Royal Oak about some upcoming shows, as well as his memory of the late Bob Saget. That is coming up next. You are watching and listening to the Megacast.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation. Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. Joining me now on the show is the owner of Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, located in downtown Royal Oak. Mark Ridley with us now on the Megacast. Mark, thank you for being with us again.
You're welcome. Thank you, Tyler.
Appreciate it. So it's been a little while since we've last had you on the show. Definitely a lot has changed on the COVID-19 front. Since then, a lot more things have opened back up. There's been more regular shows across all entertainment, including in our comedy clubs across the state of Michigan. Of course, now dealing with the Omicron variant kind of changes the situation a little bit. How have things been lately for you and your business over there at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, and how have things maybe changed, or how are you planning to maybe modify things with the latest surge that's been had in the COVID-19 front?
Well, I can say for the most part, it's been very, very good. Just looking, like last night, we had the Detroit to LA comedy finals, and 340 people showed up for that to watch the show. This week, I have TJ Miller from a lot of movies in HBO's Silicon Valley, and all those shows are sold out. So, people are coming in, and a lot of them are still wearing masks. We have every intention of remaining open, and as long as people do their best to, protect themselves. I mean, it's really what it comes down to. We're doing everything we can at the venue, but we ask that the customers do what they can to make sure they're protected.
On the business front, being back open in a more regular fashion, being able to have comedians locally and across the country that you recruit come in and do shows in the club. How has that changed? How has that helped your business make a comeback from the financial woes of the earlier portions of the pandemic where clubs were closed? Some of the shows, if they were being done, they were being done virtually, but they were few and far between.
Well, yeah, we still have ways to go. I'm not going to lie. It is an exercise that, as a business owner, that I have to accept and be real about it, and just hope that there's no more surprises out there. I read the news every morning, and I see that in cases where certain countries have been hit, they've pretty much peaked out. One can only hope that the United States and Michigan in particular, we're peaking out maybe by the end of this month and starting to see a downturn. It's all about wait and see. I mean, I relay a story about my grandfather when I was young. He used to tell us stories about living through the Spanish flu in 1918, 1920. And he was in his mid to late 20s then. And he said, just when we thought it was over, it started up again. So, here we are 100 years later going through pretty much the same thing.
And then in terms of the comedians that you bring into your club, of course, as I said before, local comedians, but also comedians that have national recognition, some that are very big names that will come to the Detroit area, to downtown Royal Oak, and perform at your club. It's been a trying time for them as well, especially those that are comedy is their entire career. They tour the U.S. They're going from city to city, performing their comedy. How's it been for them, and how's the response been from them being able to come back into clubs such as Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle and perform in front of an audience again and perform more regularly?
Well, I mean, listen, you're right. This is their livelihood. And anytime you take someone's livelihood from them, they're not getting a check. Some comedians make a great amount of money. Others just live week to week and trying to build their stock in the company, and so to speak, in the art. So it has been tough, and some have dropped out altogether. I know one comedian in particular who started with me and then passed away from COVID in California. So it is a trying time. But again, that being said, it's a waiting game. I personally am triple vaxxed, so is my wife. And we do everything to minimize exposure. And I know a lot of the comedians have done the same thing. They've just taken time off, especially some of my local comedians. I can think of 3 or 4 that said, we're not going to go back out and perform until it feels right. So they're basically losing one of 2 earnings in that respect, but some can work from home too, their day job.
We're joined by Mark Ridley, who is the owner of Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, joining us on the Megacast as many upcoming shows going on over at the Comedy Castle. Brett Hayden's Comedy Rumble will be there on January 18th later on in the week here, and then Jackie Cashian will also be there on January 20th and 21st, among the many different shows that are coming up over there at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. And you can learn more information about that by going to their website as well, or just searching Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle and seeing all of their upcoming shows over there in downtown Royal Oak. And so, Mark, over the weekend, some saddening news on Sunday evening came in as we learned about the death of comedian Bob Saget. Of course, many people know him from his iconic role as Danny Tanner on Full House and as the host of America's Funniest Home Videos. But he's also a prolific stand-up comedian who toured the U.S. and went to many different clubs, including your club numerous times at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. For you, having met Bob and multiple times and having had a relationship with him ongoing over the years, tell us what your lasting memories are of Bob Saget.
Well, he was one of my earliest headliners. I opened in 1979 and he headlined in 1980. And I think back to when he first hit the stage, and I have never seen it this many times, but he got 3 encores, and that is extremely rare in the comedy business. And for the most part, he would get 2, sometimes 3 encores every show. And he headlined almost every year until things took off with him for Full House. But the other thing I really remember is that, what a gentle person he was and a caring person. It was never about him. He would always ask about you or other people. He would come to my house for lunch. And then my then wife and I remember one incident, my son, who's now 40, I have 2 sons, 45 and 40. The one that was 40 was a brand new baby. And he walked in and picked him up and said, "Oh, I love babies. I got to have a baby." And right then and there, he said, "Can I call my wife?" And I said, "Sure." And he called his wife and said, "Sherry, I'm holding Mark's baby. We've got to have children. We got to start having children." So he went on to have 3 daughters. And then the next time he came in, I think, is my older son, who's now 45, we went to see The Empire Strikes Back together. And I looked over at Ryan, who was probably 5 or 6 at the time, and Bob, and both of them were just like, well, they were just staring at this screen, just, utterly enthralled with the movie. And Bob, after we left, was asking Ryan all kinds of questions about the movie, his thoughts and things like that. So, it was just a really down-to-earth, solid guy. His heart was as big as his body. I mean, he was just wonderful.
Yeah, and there was a really nice tribute that was done at the beginning of Jimmy Kimmel Live on his Monday show the day after learning of Bob's death. And what he had said that really struck me was the thing he's heard repeatedly in the tributes to Bob from people that had met him, from people that, of course, worked with him, were close with him, was that he was very sweet, he was nice, just the sweetest person you could ever know. And just from reading a bunch of, from reading the tweets and from stories and from articles and from watching videos of people talking about Bob in the wake of his death, the one thing that I really capture is he makes that effort, he would make that effort to check in with people, even if he hadn't seen them for a long time, just because they popped up in his head, and really made an effort to get to know people on a personal level and then develop that care for them, which is something that's rare in entertainment to see from people, and it's rare in regular life as well. How did that help to inform the way that he went about his performance as well, especially from being a comedian, with that being so interactive with an audience? Do you think that that helped Bob, just that caring nature of his, become such a prolific comedian that he was?
Yes, because he genuinely wanted to make people laugh. He cared about the art of comedy, and I say the art, it is an art. It's like music or any other art form. And again, I saw him pre-Full House and America's Funniest Home Videos, and then years later, I'm talking maybe 6, 7, 8 years ago, he was performing at the Royal Oak Theater, and he called me. I happened to be at the club, and he said, "Are you going to be there for a while?" I said, "Well, yeah, what's up?" He goes, "I just want to stop by and say hi." And it had been probably 20 years since I'd seen him. So he came over, he asked about my sons, who he remembered, and he asked about the club, how everything was going. It wasn't about like, I'm doing this, because I already knew how well he was doing. But he just wanted to check in with me, and he gave me just the biggest hug. And that was one of the things I think a lot of people remember, is Bob was a big, tall, lanky guy, but a proficient hugger. He just loved to hug people. I checked in with Dave Coulier when I heard about the news, and I texted him that night, and I didn't want to call him because they were just so close. And the next morning I received a text at just how heartbroken. He said, "Mark, it's going to take a while to process this, and I'll call you when I'm in a better place." But he's just absolutely heartbroken. And, I think that the people that went to see him, you could be sitting in the front row, or you could be sitting in the back of the theater or the club, and everybody felt like Bob was talking to them. That's what was really cool about his act. He would look people down front, look towards the back, ask about the people in the back. And, you could just really tell that he cared.
Yeah, and he took that as the biggest point of pride, it seems, from the stories that I've heard and from what I've read, and all the things that are online, the tributes to Bob Saget, is that he really took to heart that interactive nature of comedy, and really just the interactive nature of being alive. And he enjoyed that. That's where he got the pride from and the joy from. And like you said, it definitely helped with his act, with his comedy, because it's so interactive and it engages the audience. For other comedians that are coming up, and from you having experienced what made Bob so special on a human level and what made Bob so special as a comedian, what can people that maybe are interested in comedy as a hobby, as a career, or those that are already in the business, what can they learn, whether they're in comedy or even in another form of entertainment, not only about being an entertainer, but about being a person in entertainment, from the life and the legacy of Bob Saget?
Well, I think that one of the biggest things is, just no matter who you meet, just be nice to them, because, one day's assistant might be the next day's boss. Bob's early manager was a gentleman by the name of Brad Gray, and Brad managed Bob, Gary Shandling, Dave Coulier. Well, Brad was a night manager at a bar in Buffalo when they had a comedy night, and that's when he decided he wanted to go. And I'm talking 1980, maybe 1979. He decided he wanted to go in the entertainment business. Well, that being said, Brad moved up in the world, became partners in a management company in Los Angeles, and eventually became the president of Paramount Pictures. So, from bartender to president of Paramount is a big leap. And those are the people that you meet in the entertainment business. Again, Tim Allen's manager, Rick Messina, used to be a bartender at a club in New York. These are all really good businessmen, and a lot of people would not give them a second look. I'm not saying, all people are like that. I'd say Bob was right in how he approached living life. Everybody was important to him, no matter if it's somebody who was staying late, cleaning up the club, or the owner of the club, like myself. They were every person was very, very important to them. So I think that that's what you just have to. It's a good life lesson. Be nice to everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's. I think that definitely is the lesson that is being taken away from all the discussions on his life and on his legacy in his 65 years that he was with us here on Earth. So, Mark, thank you very much for joining us. I want to give you another couple of minutes before we say goodbye to let us know if anything else that is upcoming here in the near future over at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, or anything else that you'd like to say about Bob Saget.
Well, I could go on and on about Bob and all the memories, and one day maybe I will. It's just I'll miss him tremendously. But he's with Norm Macdonald now, and Don Rickles, and a lot of the other. They're probably having a heck of a roast around the table, busting each other's chops. But it's Bob's passing is certainly not the first one that I've experienced in this business. I mean, there are quite a number of comedians. I just celebrated my 43rd year in business. So there's a number of comedians that have come and gone, and all of them contributed something, and I have a lot more coming up. I mean, it's just, the year is just about finished being booked, and I've got some big names. I'm working on a couple of surprises, and all I can do is just keep forging ahead and developing that new talent that's coming up here in Metro Detroit.
Well, Mark, we're excited to see all that new talent over at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, and thank you so much for joining us to talk about what's coming up at your comedy club, and also to talk about your dear old friend, Bob Saget.
Thank you very much, Todd.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanted to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you did. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council.
As partners working together to protect our water resources, we agree.
Pet waste is a source of harmful bacteria in the Huron River.
When it's left on the ground, it can wash into the storm drains.
These lead directly to our streams. No filters, no treatment.
Here's one thing we know that can help keep our water clean.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
Pick up pet waste and trash it.
So pick up pet waste and trash it.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Who is struggling right now?
I am.
My son is.
Many are struggling with anxiety, depression, and substance use. Before it becomes a crisis, reach out to MyCal, the Michigan Crisis and Access Line, for free confidential support 24/7. Available in the Upper Peninsula and Oakland County. Just call or text 1-844-44-MyCal or chat online at michigan.gov/MyCal. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Motorcyclists are hard to see. To keep everyone safer, it's important to always look for them and know where most crashes occur. 84% of motorcycle and vehicle crashes happen on streets, not highways. And most crashes with motorcyclists occur when vehicle drivers are turning left. So before turning, especially to the left, make sure you look for motorcyclists. Then look again. It could save a life.
To Sophia and Gabriel. Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Kieft here in our studios in West Bloomfield Township, although we broadcast all throughout the state of Michigan on a number of different outlets. You can learn more information about everywhere that we broadcast live and live to tape and find our shows on demand by visiting civiccentertv.com/Megacast. Joining us now is Krista Capp. She is the COO of Thaw, the Heat and Warmth Fund, a shared Detroit-supported charity and nonprofit. Krista, thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So tell us a little bit about your organization. Tell us about Thaw and its history.
So I just want to share, I'm the COO for the Heat and Warmth Fund. And prior to that, I was a member of the board of directors for a number of years, serving in many capacities from development and recruiting to being the board president. And then when the opportunity presented itself to give back even more after 30 years in the private sector, I could not stop myself from joining. Thaw's history, we were established in 1985 to improve the quality and life in our state and prevent suffering, a very lofty goal. Since its inception, Thaw has distributed nearly $250 million in energy bill assistance to more than 280,000 Michigan households. Our mission is to stabilize and empower Michigan families, keeping them healthy, safe, and warm. And we serve throughout the entire state of Michigan.
And so you can learn more information about Thaw by visiting thawfund.org. Again, that is thawfund.org, or visiting shareofdetroit.org and searching the Heat and Warmth Fund under one of their 262 supported charities and nonprofits here in Metro Detroit. That are also doing services such as Thaw has said throughout the entire state of Michigan. So how can people support your organization and its efforts? Obviously, it's got to be a large undertaking to help so many people with resources that a lot of people take for granted, such as heat, electricity, and water.
That's right. We believe that no one should have to be cold, and that heat, water, gas, and electricity are basic human needs, especially in these really cold winter months. So Thaw, as I said, serves throughout Michigan, all 83 counties, upper and lower peninsulas, and ways that you can help beyond volunteering, which we hope will open back up soon, as everyone else does. I'd say there are two major ways that everybody could help, and the first is to let people know about us. Follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of the good ones. And then share our Twitter, Facebook, and Insta posts. You never know who you're going to touch or who needs that post until you share it. Talk about us with your friends, your families, coworkers. Let people know that we're here and we're here to help. And the second way that I would say many think I would have thought I should mention first is to donate. And there are more than one ways that you can give. Donations can be made in several ways, from calling 1-800-866-THAW to visiting our website, as was noted, thawfund.org. Donation opportunities include one-time recurring giving, estate planning opportunities, and even auction items and experiences give tremendously to our ability to reach out to more and more people.
We're joined by Krista Capp, the COO of Thaw, the Heat and Warmth Fund, joining us on the Megacast. Again, you can learn more information about the organization by visiting thawfund.org. Again, that is thawfund.org, or by calling their main number at 1-800-866-8429. That is 1-800-866-THAW. And so how has the pandemic changed the necessity of your organization's work as well as the difficulty of your organization's work? Because I would imagine with people having been furloughed, having lost their jobs, having had to take the time and the effort to financially recover from the early portions of the pandemic and the continuing portions of the pandemic, that the need for assistance with heat, electricity, and water being obtained for just necessary, basic necessities in the home has been so much more difficult.
Yeah, we want to make sure that people never have to choose between providing for their heat, their water, and electricity, and their other necessities in life. Our calls, our call center is open from 8:30 to 5 o'clock every day, and the phones are ringing off the hook, as you can imagine. Another great opportunity, if you don't want to call in, is we have an online portal for our application. So if you have internet access, you can go in and you can fill out everything, scan in everything that we would need to help process your application. And one of the great things that we have coming up are 3 community action days. Those are coming up February 10th, March 10th, and April 14th. And in those, we give you the opportunity to schedule an appointment. So you schedule an appointment, we would call you, and then our specialists would help you through the entire process, from applying for the Michigan State Emergency Response, or your SER, and then through our application process. And then our specialists, when they review those applications, they try and review them for every opportunity that we have to best help you, which could include assistance one time. It could include payment plans over the course of many months with your provider, with your utility provider, education, and even referrals for other services. So we're happy to help. And yes, need is high.
And you can learn more information about different ways that you can help or how you can get in contact with the organization if you are in need for these services by visiting thawfund.org. Again, that is thawfund.org. Or by calling 1-800-866-8429, 1-800-866-8429, or 1-800-866-THAW to get in contact with the Heat and Warmth Fund. And so, Krista, are there volunteer opportunities for people if they want to be able to give to this organization and help with your efforts, but may not be able to give physical items or give monetary donations at this time?
So the wonderful thing you can do is there's always opportunities coming and going. If you go to our website at thawfund.org and you look up news and events, under the events will be volunteer opportunities. And even if there aren't any listed there, you can fill out the volunteer form. And as soon as we have an opportunity, we'll be calling you.
Krista Capp is joining us on the Megacast, the COO of Thaw, the Heat and Warmth Fund, joining us on the Megacast. And so when people do request help and they are provided the help from the Thaw Fund, is that ongoing? Is there a limitation to how long or how extensive the help that your organization provides for people that are in need of these basic necessities throughout the year?
So it would depend on what sort of program that you need and you qualify for. Each household has different opportunities, but we do have long-term monthly assistance for people in a situation where that's needed. And we work in conjunction with DTE, Consumers Energy, SEMCO, MEEP, the MPSC, and we try and provide that long-term support that will graduate households into a more substantial and stable environment.
We're joined by Krista Capp, the COO of Thaw, the Heat and Warmth Fund, joining us on the Megacast. Again, their website, thawfund.org, or you can go to sharedetroit.org, where you can explore more information about donation, getting in contact with the organization, find their website and their main address as well if you'd like to get in contact with the Heat and Warmth Fund, as well as explore over 260 other charities and nonprofits in metropolitan Detroit. And so you have a radiothon that's coming up in partnership with WWJ News Radio 950. That's coming up in February. Tell us a little bit about that radiothon, what will be going on that day, February 4th, 2022, from 5 a.m. until 7 p.m., and how that radiothon goes to benefit your organization.
So I am so excited about this radiothon. It's one of our biggest events of the year. It is our 19th radiothon with WWJ. And as you mentioned, it will take place on Friday, February 4th. It starts at 5 a.m. and it runs until 7 p.m. And we encourage everybody to listen to WWJ that day. We'll be talking about what Thaw does, how ways you can help Thaw, and sharing stories like Mr. Underwood, who is a veteran whose home was in need of a new hot water tank and a new furnace, which we were able to provide through our energy efficiency program. Mr. Underwood's newfound ability to keep warm in his home meant so much to him. And I think that the most inspiring thing that I took from that was his unstoppable spirit, and that the whole time he was thinking of ways that he could pay it forward. So we're very excited to be on the air again with WWJR at 9:50 a.m. on February 4th from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we look forward to sharing stories with everybody and getting everyone involved in how to help.
And so, Krista, you, of course, as I've mentioned a few times, you are involved with Share Detroit. You're one of the 262 at this time charities and nonprofits that's affiliated with that organization. It's helping to connect the community with many different charities and nonprofits in Detroit and in the metro area. How impactful is it to have that sort of partnership in our community, to be able to get word of mouth out about the services that you provide and the opportunities that are available for individuals and families in our local area, as well as attract people to your organization that may want to volunteer or help monetarily with a cause that's really important to a lot of people, our neighbors, our friends, our family, and people we may not ever even meet?
While I completely understand the point of an interview is to put things in words, sometimes you just cannot express in words how impactful certain partnerships are. And like I said before, we really would love, we love getting the word out about us. We love sharing our stories and, helping people find places to donate and give back. And Share Detroit is a tremendous partnership, along with the utility partners that we have and the agency partners we have throughout the state. So can't say enough good things.
We're joined by Krista Capp, the COO of the Heat and Warmth Fund, joining us on the Megacast. You can learn more information at thawfund.org. Again, that is thawfund.org, or by visiting sharedetroit.org and searching for the Heat and Warmth Fund. Krista, another couple minutes with you before we'll say goodbye. Anything else that would be important for our audience to know about your organization, or anything else that you'd like to discuss at this time?
No, I do want to discuss, we have a Power Forward group, which you can find at thawfund.org. If you're interested in really giving back and learning about nonprofit and board participation and what you can do to help your fellow neighbors and Michiganders, I truly encourage you to check out thawfund.org and find the Power Forward group. It's a bunch of amazing young professionals, high energy, and it can't be beat for bringing it to Michigan.
Well, Krista, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about the Heat and Warmth Fund.
My absolute pleasure, and thank you again for having us. We look forward to hearing from everybody.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Again, you can learn more information in a couple of different ways. You can go learn more information by going to their website at thawfund.org, or by calling their number at 1-800-866-8429. That is 1-800-866-THAW. We're going to take a break. On the other side, we'll wrap up this week of shows. We'll give you some information on what we're going to be doing next week on our show and more. That's coming up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Can I ask you a question? Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
211, how can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
We may come from different organizations.
But we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Just letting you know again, next week, Monday, on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, we will not be broadcasting a live episode of the Megacast. Today's episode will replay on Monday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, but we'll be back with regular episodes beginning Tuesday of next week, January 18th. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Megacast. With just about a minute left in the show, I'd like to thank Danielle Whitaker from Salon To Go Medical Spa, John Sauve, the sculptor and creator of Man in the City, Tracy Tricas and Angela Spino Bogoda from the Alliance of Coalitions for Healthy Communities, Mark Ridley from Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle, and Krista Capp from the Heat and Warmth Fund for joining us on today's edition of the show. Big thank you as well to our technical producer, Calvin Brown, over here switching all of our cameras and our audio each and every day here on the Megacast. The king of television himself, Larry Nyland, as well, for booking all of our guests, getting them and helping us get ready for every one of our editions of the Megacast, and out at Master Control, getting us off and on the air today as well. That's going to do it for today's show. Next on My Michigan TV, it's Steve Leto Live. We'll return next week, Tuesday, from 10 a.m. to 12 noon. This has been the Megacast.